That gospel may sound familiar to you because we heard it last Sunday, but it's very appropriate for us to understand and appreciate how God calls all of us to be in relationship with Him. And it's a relationship that must be grounded in love. First of all, God's love for us. That's what really brings us into love with Him. And then our love for Him that's manifested in a lot of ways. So let me tell you a little bit about today's saint, Saint Teresa of Avila. Avila is a town in Spain. And Saint Teresa felt a call to follow Jesus like his disciples, and so she entered the convent. But at this time in the 16th century, the convent life was actually pretty comfortable. It might have been a lot better than a lot of people experienced in the world. It was kind of like a finishing school for wealthy women. And so Saint Teresa sort of felt she wanted to follow the Lord, but she felt what Jesus said in the gospel to the rich man. One thing is lacking. Now remember, the rich man was doing everything he was supposed to do. He was obeying the commandments of God, and yet he felt there was something more. And Jesus said, there is something more. Sell what you have, get rid of everything you have, and then follow me. And in one of the most powerful descriptions of a person in the New Testament, it said, first of all, Jesus looked at him and loved him. Ever had somebody who loves you look you right in the eye with love? It's pretty dramatic. But then his response was, his face fell. It's almost like you can imagine him not even wanting to look into the face of Jesus. And he went away sad because he had many things. Isn't it sad when things get in the way of relationships? And we all know how easily that can happen. We want things, but most important in life is wanting people, wanting the love that only people can give us. Things can't give us love. And what Jesus wants to give us is the love of God. So imagine Saint Teresa feeling that love and saying, I just want to give more to God. So in fact, she kind of changed the life of the convent. She said, we have to do away with all of these unnecessary things. We need to get back to the spirit of the gospel. And she came to realize that, and I found a lovely quote from her that I think helps us to understand what the gospel is about and why people would want to give everything. It is love alone, she wrote, that gives worth to all things. Why have everything and not have love? But what God wants is for us to know His love. It's not that He's waiting for us, but He offers it. That's what Jesus offered this man. He looked him right in the eye and he said, and he could express love. However, Jesus says, if you love me, I'll give you everything you want. I mean, look, I'm a priest, I'm not married, but I have children, I have brothers and sisters, I have a huge family. Not only the family in Peabody at St. John's and St. Thomas, but all the people of the world, in a sense, are like my family. So, like St. Teresa, I realize how blessed I am. That if we give all to God, we realize how much more God has given to us. And so that's Jesus' promise to us, that if we give our lives to Him, we'll have everything we want, and even more. Most of all, we'll have love. But did you hear in the gospel also that Jesus said, I'll give you all those things with persecutions? Because this is what we realize, that to love is also to have to suffer, to make sacrifices. Your parents have sacrificed so much for you so that you can go to a Catholic school. And so we have to be willing to suffer. And sometimes that makes us sort of say, well, maybe I don't want to accept the gospel. But this is what Saint Teresa wrote, and you can imagine she had a sense of humor. She said to God, she said, if this is the way you treat your friends by giving them suffering, it's no wonder you have so few. But in fact, God has many friends. He has all of us. And He knows that the suffering won't get in the way of our relationship, but will only enable us to love more. Because when love is tested, when you have to make a sacrifice for a friend or a family member or for God, then you know it's only to make your love go deeper and to realize the words that Saint Teresa wrote that we can take with us today. It is love alone, God's love for us, our love for God. It is love alone that gives worth to all things.